Her bank balance was $27.14, past due notices stacked on the counter. Her own mother wouldn't let her sit at the family table because we can't afford to feed you and your kid too. The next morning, she opened her banking app and saw $1,227.14. A bank error dropped more than $1 million into the account of a poor single mom nobody wanted. Her family came running back. The bank came too, and the price of that a blessing nearly broke her. If stories like this touch something deep in you, subscribe to Grace's Diaries so you don't miss the next one. Now, this is Emily's story, and I'm going to tell it the way she told it to me. My name is Emily, and before the money showed up, I was invisible. Not the kind of invisible that comes from magic, the kind that comes from being poor and a single mom and a disappointment. I was 28 with a 4-year-old son, Leo, and a bank account that hovered between almost zero and a dangerously negative. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, the kind where the hot water was a rumor and the smell of fabric softener never quite covered the scent of metal and old dust. At night, when the washing machines downstairs rattled, the whole building shook. The pipes moaned. The neon open sign outside our window buzzed like a trapped fly. Leo loved it. "Look, Mama," he'd say, pressing his face to the glass. "The red light makes everything look like Mars." He thought it was an adventure. I knew it was a compromise. I worked the breakfast shift at a diner off the highway. Grease in the air, coffee in my bones. After that, 3 days a week, I cleaned houses. Other people's kitchens, other people's bathrooms, other people's lives. My family didn't help. When I got pregnant, my boyfriend Kyle left a note on the kitchen table and never came back. The note said, "I'm not ready to be a dad. Please don't hate me." Kay, as if asking politely would make it better. My mother, June, read the note, then looked at my stomach and said, "Oh, well. You certainly know how to pick 'em." She offered me no hug, no place to stay. "I raised you better than this," she said. You're on your own now, Emily. Actions have consequences. I'd been living at home at the time, saving for nursing school. Pregnancy ended that plan, and my place in the house. "You can stay until the baby comes," she said. "After that, you need to figure something out. I'm not raising another child." By the time Leo was 6 months old, we were in the laundromat apartment. My older brother, Matt, and my younger sister, Zoe, came by sometimes. Matt would stand in the doorway looking at the peeling paint. "You should have thought about birth control," he'd say, half joking, half not. Zoe, who had a new job every few months and a new hairstyle every few weeks, would sit on the floor and make faces at Leo, then go home and post pictures of him with captions like, "Hanging with my favorite little man," while never once offering to pay for diapers. To them, I was the poor sister, the one who made bad choices, the one who proved what happens when you don't follow the rules. They loved Leo, they tolerated me, and my mother treated me like a cautionary tale she now had to live with. She'd invite Matt and Zoe over for Sunday dinner and ask me to come early to help cook, which meant chop vegetables and wash dishes. Then send me home with a little Tupperware container and "You understand I can't feed all of you every week, right? I'm on a budget too." Sometimes she forgot I could hear. Emily's always been irresponsible. She told my Aunt Linda once, right in front of the open kitchen door while I was wiping Leo's face in the hall. "At some point, you have to let them lie in the bed they made, even if it's on a mattress on the floor." I went home that night and lay on our mattress on the floor and stared at the cracked ceiling until dawn. Leo slept against my chest, his warm breath puffing against my skin. "I'll give you better," I whispered into his hair. Somehow, I swear I'll give you better. The day before the money came, my debit card was declined at the grocery store. It was a Tuesday. The air in the store was cold enough to raise goosebumps on my arms. The fluorescent lights hummed. I had a basket with milk, eggs, rice, cheap chicken thighs, a bag of apples, and a little tub of off-brand ice cream because Leo had had a good week at preschool and I wanted to celebrate. The total was $23.87. I slid my card, entered my PIN, waited. The screen flashed insufficient funds. A flush crept up my neck. "Try it again," I said quickly. The cashier, a bored teenager with chipped black nail polish, did as I asked. Same message. "There's a line," the woman behind me said pointedly. "I'm sorry," I murmured. I dug in my wallet, fingertips brushing a couple of crumpled singles, some coins. Not enough. My eyes burned. Can you take off the ice cream? I asked the cashier. And the apples. Just the rice and the chicken and the milk, please. She sighed, tapped the screen, deleted items. The new total glowed. $15.09. Try now, I said. This time the card went through. I walked out with my plastic bag, the handle cutting into my fingers, feeling like the smallest person on earth. Leo was waiting at daycare. His teacher, Miss Carla, met me at the door. A rough day? She asked gently. She must have seen my red eyes. Just tired. I lied. Leo ran toward me, backpack bouncing. Mom, we made rocket, he said, thrusting a toilet paper tube covered in construction paper into my hand. Mine went the highest. I hugged him, breathed in glue and crayons and that little boy smell under it all. You always go the highest, I said. You're my rocket man. He grinned, missing one front tooth. We walked home, the late afternoon sun hot on the back of my neck, my plastic bag swinging light at my side. That night after Leo fell asleep, I sat on the edge of the bed with the cheap phone the restaurant gave us for scheduling and checked my bank app. Balance, $27.14. Tomorrow was payday from the diner, $312 after taxes if I was lucky. Rent was due in 3 days, $750. I did the math in my head, came up short. Again, my chest tightened. I thought about calling my mother. I could already hear her voice. Emily, I'm tapped this month. The car needed new brakes. You can't keep running to me every time you get yourself in a bind. I thought about Matt, whose Instagram was full of craft beer and vacation photos. I'd help if I could, he'd say. But we're saving for a house, you know? You make your choices. Zoe would send me a $20 Venmo with a comment like, for my favorite nephew Blue Heart, as if she were a benevolent celebrity. I put the phone down. I'll figure it out, I whispered into the dark. Then I cried quietly so Leo wouldn't hear. The next morning started like every other. Alarm at 4:45. The smell of yesterday's coffee grounds in the trash. Leo snuffling in his sleep as I pulled on my uniform and tied my apron. I poured water into the old kettle and set it on the stove. It wheezed like an asthmatic dragon. While it heated, I tapped my banking app again, hoping by some miracle the direct deposit had gone through early. What I saw didn't make sense. Where there should have been $27.14, there were a lot more numbers. Balance, $1,200,027.14. I blinked, closed the app, reopened it. Same. I checked the name at the top in case I'd somehow logged into a stranger's account. Emily Harper, my name. For a second, the only sound in the apartment was the tick of the cheap wall clock and Leo's soft breathing. Then the kettle shrieked. I turned off the burner with a shaking hand. This had to be a glitch. I scrolled down. There in the transaction history was a single entry highlighted in green. Plus $1,200,000 Harper Family Trust disbursement ref. 9,847 B Trust. Disbursement. Words that didn't belong anywhere near my life. I laughed. It came out high and kind of wild. This is a mistake, I said aloud. It has to be. They're going to fix it in an hour. Don't even think about it, Emily. But of course I thought about it. The number on that screen. I'd never seen that many zeros in my life. It was like looking at the sun. Blinding, dangerous. My first instinct was not to touch a single cent. My second instinct was to grab Leo and run to the grocery store and buy every apple and tub of ice cream in sight. Instead, I called the bank. I pressed through a labyrinth of automated voices until a human came on the line. Thank you for calling First Community Bank. This is Ashley. How can I help you today? Hi, I said. My voice shook. I think there's been a mistake. With my account. Okay, ma'am, she said cheerfully. Can I get your full name and the last 4 of your social? I gave them. There was a click of keys on her end. All right, I see your checking account here, she said. What seems to be the issue? There is a deposit, I said, for $1.2 million from something called the Harper Family Trust. That can't be right. Let me take a look, she said. Long pause, more typing. Yes, ma'am, I'm seeing that, she said eventually. A deposit for $1.2 million even yesterday at 11:59 p.m. from Harper Family Trust. Looks legit. Looks legit, I repeated. But I don't have a trust. I'm broke. I make $300 a week at a diner. Well, I understand your concern, she said in that customer service tone. But I have the reference number here, and it matches, and your name is on it. Emily J. Harper, date of birth 3/11, last four. She read my information back. It was correct. There may have been some behind-the-scenes paperwork you weren't aware of, she said. Sometimes with estate disbursements or legal settlements. I haven't been in any estates, I said. Or settlements. Did you have any relatives pass recently? She asked. My throat tightened. My father had died when I was 8. Car accident. Drunk driver. He'd left us with nothing but debt and my mother's resentment. No, I said. No one with money anyway. We can flag the account for review if you'd like, she offered. But I'm not seeing any red alerts. The funds are available. The funds are available. If it turns out there was an internal error, we'll contact you. Contact you? Those words felt like a threat and a promise at once. So what do I do? I asked. With it. Illegally, she said carefully, we can't advise you on how to use your funds. I would recommend speaking with a financial advisor and maybe not making any big purchases until everything's clarified. I hung up. Then I called in sick to the diner. My manager, Tessa, sighed. This is the 3rd time this month, she said. I need reliable people on the floor. We know. I'm sorry, I said. It's just an emergency. I'll cover Saturday's shift, I promise. She grumbled, then relented. I sat at the small kitchen table, the faux wood surface scarred and stained, and stared at the app again. $1,200,027.14. Leo padded out of the bedroom, hair a mess, pajamas twisted. Mom? He mumbled. Is it morning? Yes, baby, I said automatically. He climbed into my lap, warm and heavy, peered at the phone. Whoa, he said. That's a big number. You have no idea, I whispered. What is it? He asked. Money, I said. Too much money. Can we get real ice cream? He asked. The kind with the little chocolate fish in it? I laughed despite myself. Maybe, I said. Maybe we can. I didn't go on a shopping spree. I showered, dressed Leo, and walked him to preschool like always. The sky was a crisp blue. The air smelled like cut grass and car exhaust. On the way back, I detoured. Instead of turning left toward home, I turned right toward the big brick building with the blue sign. First Community Bank. Inside, it smelled like printer ink and air freshener that tried to be citrus and failed. There were fake plants in the corners and a bowl of stale peppermints on the counter. A man in a navy blazer greeted me with a practiced smile. Welcome to First Community. How can we help you today? I need to talk to someone about my account, I said. In person. Of course, he said. Do you have an appointment? I almost laughed. We didn't know $1,000,000 mistakes would require one, I said under my breath. He blinked. I gave him my name. He checked his screen. He said, eyebrows going up a little. Yes, Miss Harper, I see we have a note here. One moment, he disappeared into a back office. My heart pounded. Had they already realized the error? Were they going to yank it all back while I stood there? He returned with a woman in a gray suit and heels that clicked on the tile. Miss Harper, she said, hand extended. I'm Karen Lewis, one of the branch managers. Why don't you come into my office? Her office smelled like coffee and whatever they used to clean keyboards. I sat in a padded chair that tried to be comfortable and failed. I understand you had some questions about a recent deposit, she said. Yes, I said. And don't think it's mine. She folded her hands. The funds were wired from Harper Family Trust, she said. We've verified the origin. They came with a list of beneficiaries. Your name is on that list. How? I asked. Why? She clicked a few keys, pulled up a document. To be distributed to the following parties upon my death, she read. Etc., etc. Your name is here next to a percentage amount that matches the figure you received. She turned the screen slightly toward me. I saw my name, Emily Jane Harper, 50% to who? Whose death? I asked, the room tilting slightly. She scrolled. Eleanor Harper, she read. A trust established 1995, updated 2019. I swallowed. My grandmother's name was Eleanor, I said. But she died when I was a kid, and she definitely didn't have that kind of money. This Eleanor lived in Seattle, Karen said, squinting at the screen. Is that where your grandmother was? No, I said. We're all from here, Ohio. I've never even been to Seattle. She tapped her pen against the desk. It's not uncommon for trust to be distributed long after death, she said. There can be delays, litigation, tax issues. But if you're sure you don't have any relatives out west, my father grew up in Washington, I said slowly. Before he moved here, before the accident. I don't know much about his side of the family. My mother never talked about them. Something flickered in her eye. That might explain it, she said. There's a notation here, beneficiary granddaughter of Edward Harper. Is that your father's name? My heart lurched. Yes, I whispered. That's him. That's was. She nodded. Then this appears to be legitimate, she said. You are, in fact, the intended recipient of these funds. It may have taken the trust lawyers a while to track you down. Sometimes if they only have an old address or partial information, it takes time. I stared at her. So this isn't a mistake, I said. It doesn't appear to be, she replied. We can request documentation from the trust administrator if you'd like, but from our perspective, the money is yours. The words didn't fit in my ears. The money is yours. I thought of my mother's voice. You made your bed. Of the grocery store screen, insufficient funds. Of Leo's little rocket made from a toilet paper roll because we couldn't afford the fancy kit. Why didn't anyone tell me? I whispered. About them. About this. She spread her hands. Families are complicated, she said. I'm very sorry for your loss. And congratulations, I suppose. She slid a business card across the desk. If you'd like, she added, we can set you up with an appointment with one of our financial advisors. It's wise to have a plan before you start using such a substantial sum. I put the card in my pocket with hands that didn't feel like part of my body. When I stepped outside, the sunlight was blinding. I leaned against the brick wall and closed my eyes. Somewhere in Seattle, a grandmother I'd never met had died. She'd left half her money to a girl whose father had never bothered to tell her they existed. And now that girl was standing on a sidewalk in cheap sneakers with $1 million in her account. My first thought was, this must be a joke. My second, maybe I'm finally out from under them. My family. I didn't tell my mother right away. I went home, stared at the walls, made a list on a piece of junk mail. Things to do if this is real. Pay off all debt, back rent utilities, the medical bill still haunting me from Leo's birth, find a better apartment, start a savings account for Leo. Maybe nursing school, buy apples without counting. I walked to the little corner store and bought Leo the good ice cream, the expensive one with the little chocolate fish. The cashier raised an eyebrow when I handed over my card for something so frivolous on a weekday. It went through. Of course it did. At home, I scooped 2 bowls. Leo's eyes went wide. Whoa, he said. Is it my birthday? No, I said, smiling. It's Wednesday. A best Wednesday ever, he declared, mouth already full. He had no idea. None. I watched him eat and felt this strange mix of joy and nausea. I was terrified to touch the money, terrified not to. That night, I told myself I'd give it a week. If no one called screaming a bank error, if no shadowy lawyer didn't knock on my door demanding it back, then maybe I would start to believe. It took 3 days for my mother to find out. Not from me, from Matt, because of course, I'd gone to the bank again to open a savings account for Leo. A lady with pearl earrings called it a minor custodial account and smiled like I was doing something noble. On my way home, my phone buzzed. Mom, I almost didn't pick up. Then I did. Hey, Mom, I said. What is this I'm hearing about you being some kind of millionaire? She demanded. No, hello. Noah, how are you? I closed my eyes. Matt told you, I said. Of course he did, she snapped. He said you came into the bank looking like you won the lottery. Something about a trust. From your father's side? I pictured him smirking, probably telling her over pot roast. He works at the bank, Emily, she went on. You know that. Did you not think word would get around? I'd forgotten Matt was in the loans department. We barely talked about work. It's complicated, I said. You bet, she said sharply. You should come over. Now. We need to talk about this as a family. As a family. The same family that wouldn't feed me on Sundays? I almost said I was busy. Then I thought, no. If I don't go now, they'll build whatever story they want without me. Fine, I said. I'll be there in an hour. Their house smelled the same as always. Lemon cleaner. Cigarette smoke from Dad's outdoor habit that always drifted back in. The faint must of old carpet. Mom sat at the kitchen table with a notepad. Matt leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Zoe scrolled on her phone. Well, Mom said, explain. I felt suddenly like I was 15 again, standing there after missing curfew. There was a deposit, I said, from a trust, from apparently Grandma Eleanor. On Dad's side, I didn't know she existed. The bank says it's legit. How much? Matt asked. My throat went dry. Enough, I said. Don't be coy, Emily, Mom snapped. Your brother said he saw the figure, 1.2 million? I glared at Matt. He had the decency to look slightly sheepish. Yes, I said. Oh, that's what hit the account. After taxes and whatever, I don't know what's left. I haven't touched most of it. Oh, wow, Zoe breathed. You're like rich. I swallowed. I'm not like rich, I said. It's not like winning the lottery. It's money someone meant to give me. I want to be smart with it. Mom sniffed. Well, it's about time you caught a break, she said. You've been a mess long enough. Maybe now you can finally get your life together. Move somewhere decent. Get a job that's not slinging hash. I blinked. No congratulations? No, I'm happy for you. Just an assessment of how this money could fix the embarrassment that was me. I am going to move us, I said. That's the plan. And you'll pay back what you owe me, she added quickly. All the times I covered your rent, the groceries, the diapers. It's only fair. I mentally added up the handful of times she'd helped, each one with a speech attached. Of course, I said. I was already planning to pay you back. Her shoulders relaxed a little. Oh, good, she said. That will help me a lot. You know my Social Security isn't much. Matt cleared his throat. Fatigue. Look, meh, he said. I've been thinking. You're not experienced with this kind of money. It might be smart to let someone help manage it, invest it, make it grow. You mean you, I said. He shrugged, unbothered. I work with numbers all day, he said. I know things. You could loan me a portion. I could put it into some projects I'm looking at. We both profit. What kind of projects? I asked. Real estate, he said vaguely. Flips. Rentals. It's a solid market. Matt doesn't even own his own house yet, Zoe cut in. You're not using my sister's miracle money as your personal piggy bank. Orc is a wall crib. He shot her a look. She rolled her eyes. I'm just being practical, he said. A money sitting in a checking account isn't doing anything. I already talked to a financial advisor, I lied. The bank referred me. I'm going to diversify. The words felt funny in my mouth, like a costume that didn't quite fit, so we leaned forward. We're not going to, forget about us, right? She asked. And now that you're fancy? Forget, I echoed. Yeah, she said. When you move to your nice new place, you'll still invite us over and stuff, right? And you could, I don't know, help me finally get a car that doesn't die every 2 weeks? I'd pay you back, obviously. Obviously, Matt muttered. I felt my chest tighten. They weren't happy for me. They were hungry. They saw me like a walking ATM with their last name. I thought of Leo asleep in his rocket pajamas back at the apartment, of the way he clung to me at night. My first priority is Leo, I said slowly. Then paying off my debt. Then we'll see. Mom's mouth pinched. Don't be ungrateful, she said. We've supported you through so much. Supported. The word tasted bitter. I stood. I just wanted you to hear it from me, I said. So you didn't get some wild version from the rumor mill. Everyone at church will talk, Mom said. We can't control that. I almost laughed. When have you ever wanted to control what they say about me? I asked. Her eyes flashed. You watch your tone, young lady, she snapped. I'm not a teenager, I said quietly. I'm a woman with a child, and now I'm a woman with options. I'll call you when I have more information. I left before she could respond. On the way out, Zoe grabbed my arm. I am happy for you, she whispered. Really, don't let them scare you. Then, softer, don't let them use you either. It was the first time in years I'd felt like she saw me as something other than a walking failure. The next few weeks were strange. I moved fast. The financial advisor the bank recommended was a soft-spoken man named Daniel, with kind eyes and a tie that never quite sat straight. His office smelled like paper and coffee. We're going to treat this like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, he said. Because that's what it is. Emergency fund first, debt payoff. Then safe investments. You're young enough that we can think long-term. He used words like index funds and laddered CDs. I nodded like I understood, then asked 1,000 questions. He never made me feel stupid. We paid my back rent. The landlord, who had been one letter away from eviction, suddenly became very friendly. "We love having you and Leo here," he said, sweating slightly. "Of course you can stay as long as you want." I smiled politely. I didn't want to stay. Within a month, I'd found a small 2-bedroom townhouse 10 minutes from Leo's preschool. Nothing fancy, but it had clean carpets, a little backyard, a real bathtub. The first night we slept there, Leo ran from room to room giggling. "Is this all ours?" he asked. "Alike forever?" "As long as we pay the mortgage," I said. "What's a mortgage?" He struggled with the word. "A grown-up deal," I said. "Don't worry, I've got it." He climbed onto his new bed, a real bed with a frame and everything, and bounced. "You're the best mom," he declared. I turned away so he wouldn't see me cry. I quit one of my cleaning jobs, kept the diner for a while, partly because I liked the people there, partly because going from constant hustle to nothing felt too abrupt, like slamming on the brakes of a speeding car. My manager, Tessa, hugged me when I told her. "Good for you, girl," she said. "Just don't forget us when you're sipping cocktails on some beach." I didn't tell her that cocktails and beaches weren't on my list. You learn things when you've been poor. You learn that money can vanish. That stability is made of more than numbers. I put most of it away, slow, safe. Little by little, I let myself breathe, full fridge, no eviction notices. Leo in a better preschool program because now I could pay. Sometimes at night, I'd lie in bed and think, it's going to be okay. Then I'd think that's what people think right before everything goes wrong again. And of course I was right. It started with a letter, thick envelope, bank logo in the corner, certified mail. My stomach dropped when I saw it wedged in the new townhouse mailbox. Inside on heavy paper were words that made my hands go cold. A notice of potential erroneous deposit, immediate action required. I read it 3 times, then again. In polite legal language, it said that upon internal review, First Community Bank believed that the $2 million deposit to my account might have been processed in error, and that I should refrain from further use of these funds until the matter was resolved. It said that the banker reserved the right to reverse or reclaim the funds if it was determined they had been misdirected. There was a phone number for the compliance department. I sank into a kitchen chair. The room smelled like the dinner I'd made Leo, mac and cheese, peas he'd pushed to the side of his plate. My vision blurred. I picked up my phone with numb fingers and called the number. After a maze of hold music, a man came on the line. "This is Mr. Collins, compliance," he said. "How may I assist?" My name is Emily Harper," I said. "I got a letter about an erroneous deposit." "Ah," he said. "Yes, Miss Harper, I have your file here. File." I suddenly wanted to see what that looked like. "We conducted an audit of large incoming transfers," he said. "It appears there may have been a Mesquite account number from the originating institution. The funds were intended for another party with a similar name." My heart slammed against my ribs. "But your branch manager said it was correct," I said. She pulled up the trust. My name was on it. My father's. She said it was legit. "Yes," he said. "The trust document lists multiple beneficiaries with the surname Harper. The issue is that the percentage applied to your account appears to be incongruent with the decedent's stated intention. We are in contact with the trust lawyers to clarify. In the meantime, we have to advise you not to further diminish the balance." Diminish?" I repeated hollowly. "You mean spend?" "Yes," he said. "How much have I already diminished it?" I asked softly. I knew the answer. Of course I did. Down payment on the townhouse, debt payoff, Leo's account, some emergency repairs on my car, a few small kindnesses to myself, new shoes, a winter coat without holes. I'd kept receipts. Daniel had kept records. But now, hearing this man talk about the money like it was a leaky bucket that I'd been poking holes in, I felt like a thief. "The current balance is $917,000 and change," he said. "We will be in touch when we have more information." "What happens if you decide it's not mine?" I asked. "Do I owe you the rest?" "All of it." "There are legal doctrines related to unjust enrichment, Miss Harper," he said. "We always try to work with clients to find a solution, but I can't advise you beyond that. You may wish to consult independent counsel, a lawyer." My chest tightened. Thank you, I whispered. I hung up. Leo came running into the kitchen, socks sliding on the tile. Mom, can we watch the rocket show? He asked. The one with the moon? Not now, baby, I said. My voice came out strangled. He frowned. Are you sick? He asked. I forced a smile. Just tired. I lied. Go get your pajamas on. I'll be there in a minute. He padded off, humming. I stared at the letter. It blurred. I called Daniel, my financial advisor. He answered on the third ring. Emily? He said, everything okay? No, I said. I got a letter from the bank. I read it to him, voice shaking. He was quiet for a moment. Okay, he said finally. First, breathe. Second, do not panic, spend, or move any more of the funds until we understand exactly what's going on. Third, you need a lawyer who specializes in banking and consumer issues today. Do you know one? I asked. As a matter of fact, he said, I do. The lawyer's office was across town in an old brick building that used to be a factory. Inside, it smelled like dust and coffee and rain from people's coats. Her name was Alicia Ruiz, mid-40s, dark hair in a bun, eyes that had seen a lot of people cry across her desk. She shook my hand firmly. Emily, she said, Daniel filled me in on the basics. Why don't you tell me the rest? I told her everything. The deposit, the conversation with Karen, the documents, my father's name on the trust. I slid the letter across her desk. She read it, lips pressed together. Then she looked up. Did you inform the bank at any point that you believed the funds might have been a mistake? She asked. Yes, I said. The day after it showed up, I called the 800 number and went in person. The branch manager told me it was mine. She said she'd confirmed it, that I was the intended beneficiary. Good, she said. We'll get records of that. She scribbled notes. Do you have family on your father's side? She asked. Anyone you know of? I shook my head. He died when I was a kid, I said. A drunk driver. My mom never talked about his family, like they didn't exist. They existed enough to put you in a trust, she said dryly. She tapped the letter. Here's the thing, she said. Banks make mistakes. They're supposed to catch them before they tell a client the money is theirs. They did not do that here. They assured you this was your inheritance. You acted in good faith. You didn't go on a bender to Vegas. You bought a modest house, paid off debt, and set aside savings. That matters. But if it was meant for someone else, I began. She held up a hand. We don't know that yet, she said. A misapplied percentage could mean a lot of things. It could mean their software applied the wrong formula. It could mean the trust lawyers screwed up and are trying to blame the bank. It could mean some cousin we've never heard of is mad you got half and wants more. My stomach flipped. A cousin, I repeated. Yeah, she said. These family money cases are rarely simple. Look, your father wasn't an only child. This Eleanor woman didn't just conjure you from thin air. She probably has other grandchildren. Maybe one of them thinks you don't deserve it. Maybe they're the ones making noise. I don't even know them, I whispered. She shrugged. It doesn't mean they haven't known about you, she said. And if your grandmother wrote your name down, she must have known enough to care. That thought made something ache in my chest. Here's what we're going to do, Alicia said. We're going to send the bank a formal response. We're going to demand the trust documentation and all internal emails related to your deposit. We're going to make it very clear that you relied on their assurances before making any life changes, and that any attempt to claw back the entire amount without considering their error in your reliance will not go unchallenged. That sounds aggressive, I said. She smiled. That's my job, she said. Our job is to keep being honest. Don't hide anything. Don't touch the remaining balance unless we agree it's necessary. And don't let your family bully you into using it to solve their problems. I thought of my mother with her notepad, Matt with his projects, Zoe with her car dreams. They already tried, I said. Of course they did, she said. A sudden wealth brings out the vultures. I don't want to be greedy, I said softly. I don't want Leo and me to go back to where we were. Her gaze softened. That's not greed, she said. That's survival. The next few months were a different kind of poor. Not poor in money, poor in certainty. Lawyer letters went back and forth. Emails, phone calls. The trust attorney sent over a thick packet. Inside were documents going back decades. My grandmother, Eleanor, had been a nurse, married to a man who'd owned a small chain of hardware stores. They'd done well, invested, saved. My father was one of 4 children. The other three had families of their own. Buried in the legalese was something that made my breath catch. Of 50% of the residual estate to be held in trust for the benefit of my granddaughter, Emily Jane Harper, daughter of my son Edward, to be distributed to her outright upon confirmation of identity. 50%, half. Exactly what had landed in my account. Alicia said, tapping the line. The percentage error they're whining about isn't in the trust. It's in whatever spreadsheet they used to push the money. Some clerk probably freaked out and hit a panic button. Are the other grandchildren okay with this? I asked. She raised an eyebrow. They're not my clients, she said. But judging by the strongly worded letters we got from their counsel, okay is not the word I'd use. I swallowed. What did they say? I asked. That you're a stranger, she said bluntly, that you never visited, never called, that you're taking advantage, that Eleanor must have been confused or misled, or that your father tricked her into writing you in. Heat crawled up my neck. I didn't even know she existed, I said. How could I trick her? Alicia shrugged. People tell themselves stories to justify what they think they deserve, she said. But the will is clear. Your grandmother wanted you to have half, period. The rest is noise. So the bank, I began, is trying to cover its behind, she said. We're going to propose a solution. They admit the error, apologize and agree that the amount already spent in reliance on their statements, your house, debt payoff, Leo's fund will not be subject to any clawback. The rest we can talk about safeguards. Maybe we move it to a separate institution. Maybe we structure it in a way that protects you from both the bank and grabby relatives. Do you really think they'll agree? I asked. She smiled, slow and sharp. They don't want a public fight about how they almost ruined a single mother who trusted them, she said. They really don't want this to hit the local news with that resort photo. Oh, what resort photo? I asked, confused. She laughed. A wrong client, she said. Sorry, I hear too many stories. I didn't understand the joke, but I trusted the steel in her voice. My family did not make things easier. Word of the error spread fast. Matt called. You need to give it back, he said. All of it, before they sue you. Most of it's still there, I said, and I'm working with a lawyer. It's complicated. Complicated is what they call it right before they ruin your credit and garnish your wages, he snapped. You're out of your depth, then. Just admit it was a fluke and walk away. Walk away from my grandmother's gift? I asked. From Leo's future? She wasn't your grandmother, he said harshly. She was some old woman who got confused and wrote your name down. Our real grandma died years ago. And Dad did, I said quietly. He hesitated. This is going to blow back on all of us, he muttered. People at the bank are talking. You're making us look like scammers. I laughed bitter. Making us look like scammers? I asked. I reported it day one. I've done exactly what the bank told me to do. You're the one who wanted to funnel it into your investments. He hung up. Mom was worse. She came over unannounced, her perfume filling my neat little kitchen like an accusation. You could lose the house, she said, arms crossed. Do you realize that? After all this, you'll be dragging Leo back to that dump, and then what? I'm trying to prevent that, I said evenly. That's why I hired Alicia. Lawyers just take your money, she sniffed. If you'd listened to your brother, if I'd listened to my brother, half of it would be in some half-baked condo scheme, I snapped. She flinched. You always think you know better, she said. Look where that's gotten you. Pregnant at 23, alone at 24, now and over your head at 28. I took a slow breath. The only reason I'm in over my head, I said, is because you refused to tell me my father had a family who might have cared. Her eyes widened. I did that for your protection, she said. They didn't want us. Your father left us with nothing. Why would I go crawling to his people like a beggar? Maybe because they wrote my name down in a trust, I said. Maybe because they thought of me even when you didn't want to think about them. Tears sprang to her eyes, sharp. How dare you? She whispered. After everything I've done, Mom, I cut in, voice shaking but steady. I'm not going to fight with you about the past. I'm telling you now, this is my decision, my money, my mess. If you can't be supportive, at least be quiet. She stared at me. I don't think she'd ever heard me talk to her like that. You've changed, she said finally. Yes, I said. I have. She left without hugging me. The door clicked behind her. Leo peeked around the corner from the hallway. Is Grandma mad? He asked. She's confused, I said. But that's not your job to fix. He nodded solemnly, as if he understood more than I wanted him to. In the end, the bank blinked first. 3 months after the scary letter, Alicia called. I was at the diner, wiping down a table. The smell of bacon grease clung to my clothes. A step outside, she said. You'll want to hear this sitting down. My legs were already tired, but I obeyed. Behind the restaurant, the air smelled like dumpsters and cigarette smoke. They caved, she said, no preamble. We have a settlement offer. My heart raced. What does that mean? I asked. It means, she said, they're acknowledging their internal error, affirming that you are the rightful beneficiary of the trust as written, and releasing any claim to the funds you've already spent in reliance on their assurances. In exchange, you agree not to pursue damages for emotional distress or reputational harm. Damages, I repeated dumbly. They know, she said, that if this went to court and the local paper got hold of it, bank tries to destroy poor single mom after giving her dead father's inheritance, they'd look terrible. This way they swallow their pride. You keep your house, Leo keeps his college fund, and the remaining balance is moved to a new account with some extra protections. So I'm not losing it all, I said. No, she said firmly. Oh, you're not losing it all. A wave washed through me. Relief, exhaustion, something like grief. What about the rest of the money? I asked. Of the $900,000 they were freaking out about, there will be some adjustments, she said. A trust taxes, attorney fees, but the bulk of it, it's yours. Legally, morally, however you want to look at it. Your grandmother wanted you to be taken care of. We're just making sure everyone remembers that. I slid down the brick wall until I was sitting on the asphalt. A delivery truck rumbled past. The sky was pale blue. I don't know what to say, I whispered. A thank you is customary, she said dryly. But if you really want to make me happy, take the security this gives you and build something that isn't just about surviving. I laughed, choked. I'll try, I said. I didn't run out and buy a sports car. I didn't post stacks of cash on social media. I did a few small things. I quit the diner. To the diner. On my last day, Tessa hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. Go be fancy, she said. But if you ever get bored of being rich, we always need a good waitress. I enrolled in community college. Nursing like I'd wanted at 20, before Leo, before Kyle's note, before everything. I bought a laptop that didn't freeze every 5 minutes, textbooks, highlighters. The first day I walked into anatomy and physiology, my hands shook. I was the oldest person in the room by at least 7 years. But when the professors started talking about cells and systems and the way the body tries to heal itself, I felt something light up inside me that money hadn't touched. Leo adjusted to daycare during my classes. He'd come home with finger paints on his shirt and stories about who'd stolen whose crayons. At night, after he was asleep, I'd sit at the kitchen table and study. Sometimes my eyes would drift to the folder on the counter with the trust document. I'd picture a woman in Seattle, someone who'd never met me, never held Leo, never scolded me for missed curfews. I'd whisper, thank you. My family didn't exactly celebrate my win. Matt was sullen. So you get to be rich and right, he said once at Mom's birthday dinner. Must be nice. It's not about being right, I said. Could have fooled me, he muttered. Zoe, to her credit, apologized. I was already planning how to ask you for a car, she admitted, cheeks pink. That wasn't fair. I'm sorry I saw you as a bank. I'm sorry I saw you as a bank. You grew up in the same house I did. A scarcity makes people weird. I get it. Mom stayed complicated. She couldn't quite let go of her narrative. You're lucky, she'd say. Most people don't get a bailout like that. I'm fortunate, I'd correct gently, but I also worked hard not to drown it. One afternoon, she came over with an old box. This was in the attic, she said. I thought you might want it. Inside were letters, yellowed envelopes addressed to my father in looping handwriting. Return address, E. Harper, Seattle, Y. My grandmother, somewhere unopened. And me mother made him stop talking to them after you were born, she said quietly. She didn't like the way they judged her. I was caught in the middle. She looked small suddenly. I should have told you, she said, about them, about her. I was ashamed. Angry. I thought cutting them out meant cutting out the hurt. I didn't realize I was cutting you off from someone who might have loved you. Tears stung my eyes. It can't change what you did, I said. But I can choose what to do now. I took the box. I read the letters. Some were mundane. Weather, recipes, little notes about neighbors' cats. Some talked about me. How is my little M? One said. Does she like the sunshine? I knit her a sweater. I hope it fits. I never got that sweater. I held the paper and imagined a woman across the country, needles clicking, making something for a baby she'd never see. I cried for all the lost time, for all the bedtime stories we didn't share. For the way love can be blocked, but not erased. I know what you might be thinking. Where's the revenge? Where's the part where I walk into the bank in a fur coat and slap $100 bills on the counter? Where's the part where I buy my mother's house just to evict her? It doesn't work like that, not really. My revenge was quieter. It was saying no. A no when Matt texted me an urgent business opportunity that just needed $20,000 to really take off. A no when Mom hinted about remodeling her kitchen and now that we all have a little breathing room. A no when Zoe joked about moving into my spare room for a year or two, just until I get on my feet. It was also saying yes. Yes to Leo when he wanted to sign up for the space camp at school that cost more than I used to make in a week. Yes to taking a day off studying to build a cardboard rocket in the living room. Yes to therapy finally so I could untangle poverty trauma from my sense of self. Once a month, I made a quiet trip back to First Community Bank, not to the teller window, to a side office where a woman named Mimainel helped me transfer a donation. It went to a local fund that provided emergency grants to single parents, covering rent, utilities, child care when someone had to go to a job interview. I remembered the terror of that declined grocery purchase. The way $20 could be the difference between food and nothing. I didn't flash my name on those donations. I just sat in my car afterward and breathed. 2 years after the money first appeared, I got a letter from Alicia, just 1 page. Case closed, it said. A trust fully administered. No further claims anticipated. Go live your life, Emily? I framed it. Not because of the legal language, because of that last line. Go live your life. I am in a small sunlight-filled house with a boy who still loves rockets and now knows the names of all the planets. With textbooks on my table and a stethoscope hanging over a chair. With a bank account that no longer rules every thought, but quietly supports us in the background. I was the poorest single mom no one wanted. A bank error made me rich on paper, but what made me truly wealthy was something else. The chance to choose where the money went, to choose who I let back into my life, to choose the kind of woman Leo would grow up watching. If you ever find yourself holding something you never thought you'd have, money, love, a second chance, I hope you remember this. You are allowed to protect it. You are allowed to protect yourself. You are allowed to say no, even to the people who once said no to you. Someone, somewhere might have written your name down long before you knew it. You don't owe anyone an apology for finally cashing in on the love you were always meant to receive. Money doesn't fix everything. It didn't give Emily back the years she spent counting dollars at the checkout line. It didn't magically heal the cracks in her family, but it did do something powerful. It gave her room. Room to breathe, room to choose, room to become the woman she'd always wanted to be, not just the one her circumstances forced her to be. Sometimes the miracle isn't the extra zeros in the bank account. It's the moment you realize you're worth more than the stories people told about you when you had nothing. You've been listening to Grace's Diaries. If you'd like to walk through more of these quiet, complicated lives with me, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, take gentle care of your heart and don't be afraid to say no.